You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. If you're a smoker or dipper looking to make a change, you really only need one reason to do it. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you can find many. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch. It's made with only 6 simple ingredients. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Learn more about Zyn and find your reason to make a change by registering online at Zyn.com.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
As we wait for Billy and Stugotz to trickle in a frenetic rush from God Bless Football, Chris Cody, where would you start the show today after 4 days off? My wife is not pleased with the last 4 days. She's been singing, and it didn't start until yesterday. 4 days of football, that's the holidays. She's just been singing it around the house because of so much football. Where do you start? Because it seems like that Chicago Bears coaching decision was about 7 months ago. Like everything that happened at the end of the Bears-Lions game.
I would say it's either flag fighting or Payne, South Florida Payne. I would say those are the two places to either start in.
Mike Ryan, where would you start today?
Probably the association.
Yeah, you don't want to do Payne too much today. I'm curious whether Mike is mad at me. I'll get to that in a second. Lucy, where would you start the show today?
Prayers for Rose after being pepper sprayed at Michigan, Ohio State. Everyone, please bow your head and pray for Rose.
Not surprising that we would go self-involved there. A lot of people got pepper sprayed, but only one of them was ours. So we got to talk about the one that was ours that was pepper sprayed. Lucy, how did you manage, and this is good work by you, you're learning quickly, how did you manage to get the producer pepper sprayed instead of yourself?
I'm not filming. Rose is filming. She was doing her job.
But you were on the field too.
Yeah, I was like 10 yards back. I was not. Rose is a very, very talented videographer.
Oh, she was getting like B-roll.
No, so Rose was in trying to get the shot. So she was getting the shot. Harry and I were probably like 10 yards back just because we were like, there's no need for us to be in there. Obviously, we did not know that a fight was going to break out and there would be pepper spray used. We would never have let Rose in that situation. But it was a little bit funny. Just a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little bit funny once we learned everybody was okay. But Rose, are you in agreement with me? You have worked with her more than I have. So would you agree with me, though, that Rose has a bit of a war photographer's temperament where she will adventurously go boldly into places the rest of us might not?
No, absolutely. We had an incident last year at Oklahoma State where that's a very tight sideline, and Rose was in front of the student section, and they banged paddles on the side of the stadium there, like the little thing. And Rose, I genuinely had to pull her and be like, you need to watch it. You are going to get concussed. You're going to get hit in the head with a paddle. And it's like that constantly. She will do anything to get the shot for off-roading. So we're very proud of her for getting pepper sprayed. She is a survivor.
All right. We are proud of Rose for being pepper sprayed. Our first pepper sprayed situation, but not our first pepper situation. We have had a couple of those at Meadowlark Media. You, Lucy, are as interested as Chris is in the flag planting because I understand we don't want that stuff to escalate, but I really thought both coaches were super precious about it afterward. Like, I mean, I understand that.
What game are you talking about? It happened a lot.
Well, all of them, but this game, the Michigan-Ohio State game is the one that I'm talking about where both coaches are reprimanding the behavior fervently when the behavior has been pretty common for a while and is sort of the natural escalation of people celebrating in the end zone. These aren't actual wars going on here. The thing that happened beforehand has more similarities to war than planting a flag in the front of the field. But I understand that Celtics fans are still mad at Kyrie Irving. Think about the sentence I'm saying here. Still mad at Kyrie Irving for stepping on the leprechaun.
I don't know. Rose got pepper sprayed, so we were a little bit busy after the game. We did not get to go to the Ryan Day press conference. The clip I saw didn't seem like he was really reprimanding much. It was just like, my guys were not going to let that flag.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's meathead behavior from him. Like, that's meathead behavior. Like, why wouldn't you let the flag just get planted there? My guys wouldn't allow it. Your guys allowed them to be in a situation where they could plant the flag because they won the game. What do you mean they wouldn't allow it? They allowed it. Like, they allowed it.
It's my favorite.
Got his ass.
Yeah, that's my favorite take of all this. You don't want them planting the flag? Why don't you win the game?
Well, but I mean, they did allow it.
Stop them from scoring.
My guys wouldn't allow that. You allowed it. Like, you did allow it.
They should have won that game. They were a 3-touchdown favorite, so I kind of get it with that game. Like, they're a much better team.
We have so much to get to.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
4 days of football, yeah, that's the holidays.
Not how my wife was singing it. Not really quite that joyously. I want to go over with you as we wait for Billy Gill and Stugotz to come in from God Bless Football. A handful of things that I learned yesterday watching football, and I want you guys to tell me which of these you knew and which you find most interesting. I did not know until yesterday that Eddie Pinheiro is the most accurate kicker in league history. I don't think a single one of those was important, even the ones that won games. Not unless he played on the Jake Delhomme teams or the Cam Newton MVP team, and I don't know about it. So the most accurate kicker in NFL history has kicked a bunch of accurate kicks no one remembers. Speaking of kickers, I did not before yesterday know that Sly, the Patriots kicker, who ended that game with a 68-yard attempt that was a yard short, has 5 misses this year inside of 30 yards. 5. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. What the hell's going on with Justin Tucker?
That's the only reason. That's the only reason Pinheiro is now the most accurate kicker, is because Justin Tucker has missed enough this year to make his percentage fall lower to closer to 89%.
You know what I think it is? He did a commercial for Craven where he's like the star. It's got Harbaugh in it. It's got Lamar Jackson, and they're all in awe of Justin Tucker. It got to his head. It's just like, you can't be doing commercials as a kicker.
The Will Levis commercial for mayonnaise looks less great when you're down 28-0, and you've got guys on your team doing sack dances down 28-0, which I'm not the joy police, but we can agree. Down 28-0, you got to mute the sack dance. No? Just you got to, I mean, sacks are hard to get, but you're down 28-0. Do I have this wrong?
I'm with you. I think inside 14 points, you can do sack dances. Once it's past, well, and you know what? 2 possessions. Once it's past 16 points, no more sack dances. That's my rule. Inside 2 possessions, we can still sack dance.
That's a good rule there. But I do feel like the joy police on this stuff. You guys say how many teams have done the flag planting fight thing? How many times has this now happened as we chronicle the dangers of, kids over celebrating on the opposing field? It seems to me a natural escalation that if you're going to make all of the war analogies and going to do all the stuff about we protect our house and stuff, that when somebody symbolically tries to flag plant on your field, that there's going to end up being some fighting involved. Like that seems like a natural escalation of everything we're doing out there.
There were 22 teams involved in fights. I believe there were 3 flag plants, 1 pitchfork plant, and then Iowa, Nebraska, they didn't shake hands. So that's like Midwest, even worse than a flag plant. It's very disrespectful.
Just that passes in the Midwest for the highest form of insult, refusing to shake hands afterward.
Yeah, they basically were like, screw you. Nebraska fans were not happy about that.
Mike Ryan, your thoughts here on the flag planting incident that grabbed everybody this weekend?
I'm going to get called such a boomer. I've been pretty consistent about this, and it may come as a surprise to some folks because I'm a big University of Miami guy, and they kind of invented being unsportsmanlike. But I've been very consistent when it comes to the college game. I don't like the taunting direct to opponents. I don't like hand gestures that are upside down, that are once a player scores a touchdown, puts horns down in someone else's face, and that goes with impunity. I certainly don't like the flag planting, and I think something needs to be done with it. I know this is a losing position. I understand how old I sound, but rationally, if I can explain to you, this is the only sport in the world where that stuff is allowed. We have long since been at the tipping point for court storming and field storming. It's been a discussion, and we all know that it's kind of like hanging on by a thread, because all it takes is one really nasty incident between fans and players, and that's probably gone forever because it's building and building. If someone tries to do what we've saw several times over the weekend, which is take an item that is closely associated with another team and after a result, plant it on the field and physically taunt not just the opposing team, claim land, and taunt everybody else there. In Europe, that starts a riot. So I'm just saying it's the only place where we allow this in sports. And I'd say that even though I'm in the vast minority here, the world of sports is in the vast majority. That stuff shouldn't really exist.
Here's one of the things that I think about this, and I have a lot of thoughts about it, because it seems to me a natural escalation of, and I know it's been happening for a long time, but these coaches having less control over these players than they would like to have over these players. I saw a Shedeur Sanders commercial this week, and I don't know how many college football players are doing ads, but it's still startling to me to see a college football player doing a television commercial, and he's doing it for a team that spent the weekend dragging Oklahoma State and making fun of them every time they scored a touchdown, because they enjoy their celebrations in Colorado. Oklahoma State, by the way, as bad a big program school I've seen playing football outside of perhaps Purdue and Florida State this season. Oklahoma State, winless in the conference, did not have a chance to complete a pass in that game. I'm sure they completed some, but it seemed like their receivers were always covered in that game. And it seems like if you keep giving these players more and more power in these situations, you're going to get more and more unruly behavior, not less. When the schools are fined, whatever it was, $100,000, or the conference is fined $100,000, that's not going to affect the behavior of the players at all.
Okay, a few things. First, I'm not worried about Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's going to get a cabinet position. He will be fine. He's going to move on just okay. I think that something I talk about college sports all the time. I think something we tend to forget is we're holding 18 and 19-year-olds to this insane moral standard. Their frontal lobes are not developed. Their brains are not fully developed. These are intense rivalries. I don't love the conversation of making it seem like players weren't fighting before. Players have been fighting in college football for a very long time. You don't want to see a situation like Michigan, Ohio State, where you're having to use mace, which was very unnecessary, by the way.
You're not having to use it.
No,
it was unnecessary.
No, it was an incredibly unnecessary move by, I think it was the Columbus Police Department. I am not sure. I like the rivalries in college football. I kind of like the hatred. I think it's what makes it special. I don't know if there's hatred like that in another sport, with maybe the exception of European soccer. So, we don't want to see fighting. No one wants to see insane fighting, but horns down gestures are hilarious. Planting the flag, that's been happening for years. Ohio State didn't seem to have a problem with planting the flag when they did it at Oklahoma. It's just something that happens in the sport. It's part of the rivalry. It's part of why college football is such an American institution. There isn't really much like it, and they're 19 years old. They just don't know better.
Don't you think this is a pretty recent thing, though? Basically, Baker started a trend, and you have all these impressionable 19-year-olds, as you put it, kind of being rewarded for chasing this social clout. It's in all the highlight packages. We all love it. If ESPN and the broadcast partners use these things as B-roll to promote upcoming games, I think that the flag planting and the taunting at the middle of the field, I saw South Carolina fans taking off their belt and whipping the tiger paw. I also think that Cocky the Gamecock crapped all over the paw in midfield. These are all
what a great sentence.
His name is Sir Big Spur, by the way. Please don't get it wrong.
Look, there's been stuff where you have opposing fans break into a stadium before and carve like their initials into that stuff. I guess it has a lore, but I could just do without it. And I think that it's getting a little bit more out of control, and the NCAA has kind of emboldened it. And now we're at a point where you're having pretty ugly scenes. Like what happened in Michigan and Ohio State was ugly. Other people got caught up in it. And I think it's all a byproduct of doing nothing. So I think that they should do something to try to mitigate this.
Not Mace.
I don't want to make light of this, but I think Arizona and Arizona State handled this right. The mascots settle it. If there's an issue after a game, if someone does something disrespectful, the mascots meet at the 50-yard line and settle it.
All right.
Make the coaches fight. Ryan Day, step up.
Right.
Because the idea of a mascot's head getting completely flipped around is always funny.
Sure. How about the losers just go to the locker room, take their medicine, and that's about it? The winners get to stay out on the field. I don't care what field they're on, and they get to celebrate. Why? Because they beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right.
That is what a lot of people are saying today, and that incident was indeed ugly, but I would say to you that there's a lot of general lawlessness going on around college football that can also be described that way as ugly. And when you get into one of these situations where there's a cooling off period because of the emotions of what those people are doing. It hurts. They care a great deal. We're not allowed immediately into the locker room because they're afraid of what the players might say in those situations because they're all elevated. So when you do something that is that blatantly disrespectful on a field, I do understand the response of like, all we can do here to resolve this at this point is fight because it's insulting and because everyone is elevated and frustrated. Man, Stugotz, Ohio State seniors. Imagine you're an Ohio State senior and you haven't beaten Michigan once. That's the end of your career right there. You have yet to beat Michigan, and that's how your career ends, where you're a senior who hasn't won against them one time, and they're planting a flag in your field at the end when you're a 3-touchdown a favorite.
Right, and I'm saying don't let that happen.
Yeah, beat Michigan.
Beat them. I mean,
agreed.
Losing to Michigan 4 times is a lot worse than them planting a flag.
It's a terrible Michigan team coming into Ohio State. Beat them, and they don't plant the flag.
Yeah, that's the vast majority of folks are lining up there. I'd say overwhelming 95% are like, you don't like it, don't let them score. You don't like it, don't let them win. I understand that. Sometimes, there's 2 teams playing. There's always going to be a loser. And I think it's perfectly reasonable for these teams to be sore losers about it. It's also distinctly American to be like, you losers. Yeah, well, why would you take exception to someone taunting you after you lose? It's a human emotion. I think that they should do something about it.
Are you not American? I'm confused. It's distinctly American. Europe sucks. I don't know if you're aware of this. Like, we keep saying, well, in Europe, this would happen. Europe is terrible, which is why all of us left Europe. That's why everybody's here in America, because everyone decided, you know what? Europe is terrible. Like, the English decided, the Spaniards decided, the Italians decided. Every single person came together at one point in time and said, you know what? We may not disagree on a lot of things, but we can all agree. Europe sucks. Let's just jump on this boat and see where it takes us, because we can't be here anymore. Because Europe, again, terrible. No air conditioning. Everything is old. Horrible. All they do is try to steal American culture and then tell you all of their old crap is so great. Europe, terrible. And it takes forever to get there. Forever to get there. If I'm boarding a plane for 8 hours, Europe better not be where I'm landing.
You should have used the other voice. They're going to know that was you.
What? What other voice?
You know the voice.
Who's going to know it's me? Europe? Okay, an entire continent's going to be mad at me? Okay, Europe. You have a problem with me? That's fine. Next time I'm there, you can take it up with me, which is hopefully never. Unless the Dolphins play in Spain next year, because I may go to Spain to watch the Dolphins play. That'll be fun.
What happened with you in Europe? Like, what happened?
I'm just so over Europe. I'm just over it in general. Are you guys not over Europe?
No.
I'm not the only one. Guys, we all decided to leave Europe.
I like visiting Europe. I don't have these.
Exactly. Visit for a short time.
But no one's flocking there to live.
Then you come back. Exactly right.
I don't have these poisonous feelings about Europe that you do.
Yeah, Ellen moved to Europe, and guess what happened? Her house is underwater.
That's right.
Great move, Ellen.
As soon as she moved to Europe, yes, her mansion.
So great, Europe over there. Whoops, my house is gone.
We've got plenty of
thoughts and prayers, by the way, to everyone affected by all the floods. Yeah, in Spain there's floods too. Serious situation. We shouldn't be making light of it, Dave.
Mike, we weren't.
Thank you. On the record.
Stugotz here. Right now, my friends over at Simply Safe are extending their massive Black Friday deal for our Le Batard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. I've been telling you that for years. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest prices of the year. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for our listeners. This week only, you can take 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
This holiday at T-Mobile, I'm joined by a special co-anchor.
What up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Snoop Double G.
Snoop, if people are looking for great deals this season, where should they go?
Head to T-Mobile.com and get 4 iPhone 16s with Apple Intelligence on us, plus 4 lines for $25.
That's quite a deal, Snoop. Not to mention, at T-Mobile, you can save on every plan versus the other big guys.
Respect. Now drop that J.
See how you can save on wireless and streaming versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence available now.
Behind the delivery trucks that keep your life stocked, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People bringing a new offshore production platform online. People making our refineries capable of more, like making renewable diesel from agricultural waste. People trading and shipping fuels to our customers. And people helping truckers fill up and get maintenance at our convenient locations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Don Le Batard.
We didn't get to your guys' against the spread.
You're right. Yeah.
I don't have it against the spread because I wasn't prepared for this segment.
You need an Ian in your life.
You have actively played defense against me today in a way that has rarely been this undercutting.
Stugotz.
Defense wins championships, baby. That's show business.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Cocky, the Gamecock did what?
Sir Big Spur.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Please be respectful.
Yeah, I confused him with
God.
the
They were
dress
going to name him
mascot.
Cock Commander. Wish they had.
Wow.
Would have been way better.
Wow.
No, they were going to name him Cock Commander, and they were like, can't name it Cock Commander. And we were like, why not?
If Miami had won their mascot, the Ibis could have claimed to be the Cock Commander because a Syracuse reporter is claiming publicly that Ibis, the mascot, was hitting on her during the game on Saturday. The game that ended Miami's season in a totally calamitous fashion.
It seemed to be a jokey tweet. It seemed to be just funny, and that happens every game you go to. I don't mean to brag. I get hit on by mascots all the time. Big Al loves me.
Really?
Yeah, very pretty.
Something liberating.
No, the elephant from Alabama.
Something liberating about wearing a mask that allows you to riz people up.
Yes, men do that all the time. Stugotz claimed to be John Wiener, the Marlins backup catcher, in 1998. When he was working in the ticket office, wearing a different kind of mask.
Yeah.
Can you guys tell me from among the things that I mentioned, and I want to mention a couple of others that I learned over the weekend that I did not know. C.J. Stroud, one of the reasons he may have regressed is 25 of the sacks have been allowed by guards or center. Like pressure up the middle is going to short circuit just about anybody. I wanted to ask Trevor Lawrence yesterday, for what? For what? You're taking that hit for what? Like you're going out there.
He was doing everything in his power to not absorb a hit.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Right.
I mean, he was doing what he was taught to avoid getting hit in that spot.
We're making a big deal of that. It was a bad hit. It was a violent hit. There is no room for that in the sport. But
no,
Dan, the guy. Occasionally, that's going to happen. Where a guy who was trained to tackle and trained to be aggressive, occasionally that is going to happen. And people were outraged they wanted him kicked out of the sport for the remainder of the year. Someone brought up Dick Night Train Lane yesterday. What are we doing? It happened. It was bad. Let's move on.
Man, I'm a baby. I'm just so on the losing side of all these things. I thought it was pretty egregious.
I'm not saying it wasn't.
It was really bad. Like, Trevor Lawrence that may impact Trevor Lawrence for the rest of his life.
I totally understand. There's no room for it in the sport. But the conversation yesterday and into last night, for crying out loud, was this guy should be suspended for the rest of the year. It's a violent sport. He made a bad decision. It was a gruesome hit. It was ugly. I'm certain he's going to learn his lesson, and hopefully he won't do it again.
He was kicked out.
But can we move on?
I'm with Stugotz.
Out of the game.
People were acting like there was, like, he set out before the game. It was just, he went a little far. It's a fast-moving game. I'm with Stugotz. Like, it's a bad play. He should be suspended. He should probably be fined. But to say, like, I'm not going to read malicious intent from that. That's just, the game's moving fast.
Yes.
No, that was a very dirty play that happened. Like, and he went into we didn't see it the same as Tua, but he went into the fencing pose. If you saw his hands, they both clenched up and they were fists. Like, it was an ugly concussion that he got. And he, by the way, seemingly kind of forced his way into that game because there was kind of like, he's questionable. He's like, no, I'm 100% playing. Because if you remember, he was coming off of an injury to get into that game to then just get rocked on a dirty play.
Stugotz, the reason the reaction is what it is because we are all recoiling from seeing one of the players who has a human face we recognize that's not hidden behind a mask, be in a position where you can see physically, oh, that's a brain injury I can diagnose right here on my couch. Like, that's the reason that we recoil that way. I'd be curious to ask you guys this question on two fronts that we're talking about. One, Lucy, what's in your phone that's so interesting? One.
Is that a question?
Is the flag planting.
You sounded like a teacher. Would you like to share with the class?
I'm just curious.
You know what?
I'm curious. I wanted to ask her this question. I didn't know whether she was listening to what I was saying or not, so I'm curious.
You're talking about Trevor Lawrence and the dirty hit. I pay attention. Guess what, Dan? I'm young. I can multitask. I can be on my phone and listen and be a shining star.
Okay, very good. I'm going to challenge that theorem over the course of the next couple of times you're in here. We'll see. The two things I wanted to ask you guys are, one, do you believe if we're getting 100% honesty from the locker rooms, if I go both into the Texans locker room and into the Michigan locker room and ask, do you regret that? Do you regret what happened there? Yes or no, that is causing people so much anger. Do you regret the action that knocked their quarterback out of the game with a dirty hit?
Michigan, I'm a little confused. You said Michigan.
I would not regret it if I was Michigan. I would regret it more if I was Ohio State, maybe.
I think the Texans regret what happened to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think Michigan regrets what it did at all.
No, Michigan, the running back they interviewed after the game, he was like, you got to learn how to lose, which, by the way, is such a bar. Oh, my God. Damn, he got their ass so bad.
You think they know by now, too.
Right, yeah.
You would think they know. If I went into the Texans locker room, I'm less sure than you guys are that the headhunting that can sometimes result in eliminating the opposing quarterback starter so that now Mac Jones is in the game and you have a better chance to win. I'm not sure how many teams before a game, if I go in and I say, look, here's the deal. There's going to be a dirty hit that you didn't intend to be dirty, but it happened. The game moves fast, and you got a player eliminated. And the result of that is he gets knocked out of the game, but so does the opposing starting quarterback get knocked out of the game. And given that every week is how do we win in the margins, how do we win in the margins, I'm not sure you're getting a consensus on, yeah, I really regret everything that happened there.
We'll talk that out a little bit more in your locker room and add cutting off the head of a snake and you're suspended for a year. And you look like you're in witness protection the next time you reemerge in the NFL. Like, what you're saying is exactly what led to Bountygate.
I don't 100% understand the question. So, like, is the question, are you happy that you knocked out their quarterback? Or is the question, like, if you were to ask them, like, on truth serum, do they admit that that was a dirty play? Because, like, I think that they can know that that's a dirty play and be like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. We knocked out their quarterback. We don't care. Which is like a lot of what's going on, but I think that they would also, if they were to watch the replay, admit, like, yeah, that was a dirty play.
Well, C.J. Stroud after the game said it was a dirty play, and hopefully he learns from that.
But
right.
he also is the one that will be on the receiving end of a play like
No
that.
doubt.
So like he sees it differently than defenders would see it.
What I'm generally saying is the violence that's all out there on Sunday and Saturdays, it's all transactional. There are consequences for the violence, and there are rewards. There are payments all over the place for the violence. And one of the rewards is Mac Jones is coming into the game, and that's good for anybody who's playing against Mac Jones, even though the way that game ended up going, Mac Jones seemed to be getting more results from points than Trevor Lawrence was.
Mac Jones, they left the back door open for him, and he went right through it. That one hurt.
I mean, yeah, but also, like, okay, it's a violent sport, but it's the 2-10 Jaguars that pose no threat to you, right? And, like, you have a comfortable-ish lead in your division, so you're probably going to make the playoffs. I would say that the consequence is retribution at some point, which then is like, okay, now what if we go and we take a shot at C.J. Stroud as a result? And then that's where you regret it. Now, it didn't happen, but, like, those are the things that could happen as a result of these clearly dirty plays, especially against a team that has nothing to lose like the Jaguars. Because there's no, like, real rivalry and heated history there between Trevor Lawrence and the Texans, or, you know, the Jaguars and the Texans. The Jaguars are out of it, so it's a dumb play because you could then get someone on your team hurt as a result of this play.
I am not surprised that you are wearing flannel today that you dug out of your closet,
it's in the 50s.
as we all are. Yeah, because it's in the 50s here. We're reaching into parts in the closet that we don't normally go into. I am surprised you're wearing a Dolphin cap today.
Why is that?
What do you mean?
I mean,
these colors don't bleed.
Right.
They did exactly.
Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them.
What?
Some of them did exactly what you would think. And I have the stats to prove it, Jack.
So what are you going to prove to me?
I will tell you this. And I quote, at FB_analytical, FB Analytics on the X. Since 1999, 5 quarterbacks have produced a single game stat line of 350-plus passing yards, 80% completion percentage, 2+ passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and lost. Big Ben, 34 of 46, 400 passing yards. You don't need to know all the stats. Big Ben, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, and Tua on Thanksgiving night. Dan, I know what you're going to say here. Tua's 0-8 in the cold. He can't win a game in the cold. Now, here's the unfortunate reality of the situation. Tua did not lose that game for the Dolphins. The Dolphins could not make a stop on defense in that Thanksgiving game. They couldn't tackle anyone. They didn't seem to be interested in tackling anyone.
Fumble, punt.
The offensive line was terrible. Armstead had a horrendous game. It's a miracle that Tua even completed 80% of his passes because he was getting hit left and right. There was no one defending. And, again, as Stugotz pointed out, you had that botched fumble on the punt, and then you still had him going out there and almost botching other fumbles. The Dolphins did kind of what you thought they were going to do. However, this is going to stick to Tua, as it should, and it's unfortunate because he had a great game for Tua standards, especially in the elements. It just didn't work out for him and the Dolphins, as it doesn't work out for him and the Dolphins in the cold. But it is not his fault, and I know that that's what's going to happen. And here's the thing about Tua that is unfortunate, and it's really unfortunate for the Dolphins, and it's probably what's going to get Chris Grier fired if we're going to be predicting situations here, because some people were saying that Mike McDaniel should be fired as well, and I don't know if I'm ready to go down that path. I think maybe you give, if you're asking me and you're not necessarily asking me, I think maybe you give Mike McDaniel another year, because he's basically a 500 coach at the moment. You give McDaniel another year, but you bring in someone else to make the personnel decisions, and then you see exactly what's going on. What's happened is that we've seen, people were saying, can Tua do it? Is Tua good enough? And that was the question for 2-3 years now. Is Tua your franchise quarterback? And what we've seen this year, in part because of Chris Grier and the way he's managed this roster, is that Tua's the only thing that is working on this team right now. With Tua not there, this team is a disaster. And he does not have as much help as we think he has, because Tyreek Hill definitely has something going on, and we can't figure it out. Congratulations, by the way, Tyreek Hill. But he has something going on beyond just that race. It doesn't make sense, so he can't be people going over the top anymore. And maybe that knee procedure was actually more serious than they let us know, and we were never going to find out had he not been detained, not arrested.
I love that you're always
He didn't say that.
No, I know. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, Tua had a pretty good game, but he's going to get they're going to blame Tua for the situation.
Tyreek Hill was hurt more by that detaining and not an arrest than we know he was, correct? All of it was revealed. I
don't know, because the only good game he had was 5 minutes after that happened, where he had 130 yards or whatever and a touchdown. And then after that, the wheels fell off.
I think it's more defenses just taking away that. They're just you're going to have to dink and dunk us. You're going to have to run the ball. And they are. I would say it's not just Tua. The offense with Tua is fine. We're running the ball. Our offensive line has been good this year. It's just in defense, in the cold, we can't tackle.
Well, they can't stop people, right? Defense has been a problem for a couple weeks now, going back to the Arizona game, where they scored 27 points. That should win you a game, but Arizona then beats them. Jonnu Smith, love him. Paws up. So happy for him. Having a career year, he's going to get paid. He was not brought in to be the first option. And the past couple weeks, he's been the first option.
The past couple of weeks, the last month, they target him more than anybody.
But it's showing that Mike McDaniel, who has innovated on offense and fixed some of the issues by doing different things. They're doing creative orbit motions. It's kind of like all the rage in the NFL right now. The offense is going through Jonnu Smith because that's what defenses are giving them with the two high safeties. And you have two guys that are supposed to be those type of coverage beaters, but for whatever reason, Waddle and Hill haven't been what they've been in previous years.
Mike McDaniel is 1-15 against teams with winning records. That's bad, man.
That's pretty Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is bad, and they are bad in the cold, and this is the time of year that they've been bad for 20 years.
But I'm going to say this, because I know Dan doesn't like to do the schedule thing. I always do the schedule thing. The Dolphins are going to finish this season with 5 consecutive wins. How about that?
That's crazy.
Well, I think they are. I do.
They'll make the playoffs if they do that.
I know.
Are there any winning teams on their schedule?
There's one winning team on the schedule.
They play the Texans and the Niners. Those are the two tougher games.
Yeah. Well, no, the Niners don't have a winning record right now.
I'm just saying, in theory, they have 2 more tougher games, and then they have 2 against the Jets and 1 against the Browns.
Yep. 5 straight.
They're in a bad spot. The Dolphins are, not just schedule-wise, because there's legitimate questions about the blueprint of this team and what you do moving forward, right? Chris Grier has gotten a lot of it, and you do wonder, is it time? Because you have these pieces, but you're if you're going to be honest, you're just not good enough. This Dolphins team is simply not good enough as they are right now, and you're wasting the pieces that you had. You made the decision not to trade Calais Campbell. You made the decision not to trade Tyreek Hill, whether that was ever a reality or not. There were rumblings. Do you trade Tyreek Hill and figure something out? Now, if the talks are you got to get rid of Grier and, hey, Mike McDaniel's not getting the job done, if Mike McDaniel is out of the picture, which I don't believe he should be, I don't think Mike McDaniel should be fired, although we haven't really seen the level of success that we were anticipating to see from Mike McDaniel's offense yet. But I don't think that it's time to give up on Mike McDaniel, in part because if you get rid of Mike McDaniel, then what happens with Tua, who plays perfectly with Mike McDaniel, although it's presently not good enough to get you where you are expecting to go?
Let me ask the group whether in the history of watch parties done by entities
it's going to be a big one,
as large as ours, there has ever been a game that had a worse combined record than the 4-7 the Dolphins are throwing against, what is it, the 3-9 Jets? Is that are the Jets at 3-9 as they lose another one, Stugotz, in I don't understand why the Jets are ever favored in any of these games. All they do is get favored somehow with betting money and then lose all of the games. I'm assuming that yesterday is as good as Aaron Rodgers has looked all season. Physically moving around, connecting with Devontae Adams. I have not seen him look that fresh this entire season, and they lose anyway.
I don't think we've ever had a watch-along event where the stakes are so high.
Yeah, big stakes.
This is the Dolphins season right here.
It's this Sunday. It's Sunday service. It's presented by Smirnoff. Join God Bless Football at Vivo at Dolphin Mall. Jets-Dolphins rivalry game. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern. Watch along live. They'll be on YouTube. We'll all be out there. Come on out.
Yeah, by the way, we're going to be going from 12 to 5, so you can get there a little bit early. I would recommend getting there early because, again, holiday shopping is going to be going on this weekend, and Dolphin Mall is a very busy place as it is. If you can't go, check it out. And, Dan, you ask, basically saying, why are we doing a Dolphins versus Jets game? Who wants to see the
I
Dolphins?
didn't ask that.
It was implied. It was implied. And I'll remind you, sir, we've done Bears versus Panthers and Cardinals versus Jets. So this is
the
nothing
game of
new.
the year.
We do bad games, Dan.
Game of the year. Watch parties, Dan.
Yep.
You know what I was thinking yesterday watching the Eagles game in the 4 o'clock? They show Vic Fangio, and it got me thinking, what did he see last year? Because we all kind of criticized him, like, oh, he's an old guy, he doesn't get the young guy, but he goes to Philly and they have like the best defense in the league. It's rare that a defensive coordinator is just like, I'm good. I'm going to leave. And we all, I feel like we overlooked that. And now you see this team, and I just wonder, what did he see? I would love an honest interview of Vic Fangio just appraising Mike McDaniel, the way he runs it. Because it's odd. When do you see defense coordinators just leave a team? And he did that last year. And so as the Dolphins struggle, and as I see him still up in that booth, crushing it, it got me thinking, what did he see last year?
As I understood
a bad defense.
As I understood it, it wasn't more complicated than he just wanted to be in Philly.
Yeah.
And he's older, and he's at the end of his career, and he just wants to do things he wants to do.
But if he saw a team that was like, we are real, he didn't think this team was close.
I mean, Philly was probably considered by most to be closer.
True.
Than
and
Miami.
he has like the pedigree that he can make a move like that. It's just, I'm starting to look at that differently, him leaving the Dolphins.
To what Dan was saying before about the Jets, they're the first team in the Super Bowl era to be favored in 9 of their first 12 games and be 3-9.
If I were a conspiracy-minded theorist who was thinking that Jets management was mad at Aaron Rodgers for everything that's happened, I would do what they did yesterday and have him as the lead blocker on reverses more often.
Yes,
because he did that yesterday, and I'm like, what are we doing there? Allowing a 40-year-old to sprint into a secondary with the assignment of blocking, and anyone can hit him.
It was the first time in his career he's had a 14-plus point lead at home and lost. He was 75-0 at Lambeau. It's so Jets. But it was a good loss. I'm glad they lost. We needed that loss.
Congrats go out to the AFC East Division champion Buffalo Bills. I think we can say with certainty that after the Devontae Adams trade, the gulf between the Jets and the Bills actually increased.
Let's get the video for people of snowballs being thrown during field goal attempts. And Chris Cody, do me the favor as well. I'd like to empty the file. You mentioned people who have left here and gone on to better things like Vic Fangio. I'd like to clear out our computer file on all of the songs and all of the jokes we told at Man Campbell's expense. Can you find all of those, please? Because Man Campbell, when he came to South Florida and was coaching our team, that is something that we spent a lot of time mocking, and now Man Campbell is pretty close to the top of the sport. I guess Philadelphia would make some arguments. Kansas City's got to be the worst 11-1 team there's ever been.
Wow! I cannot believe you said that.
I mean, it's not saying much.
Right.
Usually the 11-1 teams are good and win by a lot. They don't struggle against Carolina. They don't need a botched snap by the Raiders who are falling apart to win at home. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, please, Juju. Are the Kansas City Chiefs the worst 11-1 team there's ever been?
I agree with you, but I don't think you want me agreeing with you as it relates to the Chiefs. You said it. I'm just supporting you. Oh, God. See
I'm sorry. You're not allowed to talk the Chiefs under any circumstances.
But I'm agreeing.
Let's try that again, Chris Cody, and this time get the timing right.
Stugotz minor penalty, 2 minutes for Chiefs talk.
You've earned that penalty, Stugotz. You've been doubting the Chiefs, and you can't doubt the Chiefs for 2 consecutive Super Bowl runs. Be that wrong and suffer no consequences for your Chief opinion.
So they have a 54 point winning differential, which is like mid-table in the NFL. But it's quite the take when you consider this is a team that's won back-to-back Super Bowls and 3 in total recently, that they're the worst 11-1 team of all time.
You don't get to 11-1 with that point differential. Some of those close games end up getting lost. They've won a couple of games with a blocked field goal and a botched snap from the other team. You're not even the other team is failing more than you're succeeding.
It's certainly got to you got to think it comes back to haunt them, but this isn't a team that just burst on the scene. You know, we know them to be good. Howdy, folks. It's Mike making this podcast time Miller time. That's right. Miller Lite makes all the great times even better. Why? Dependability, for one. Great taste, less filling. You know exactly what you get. Everybody's going to be happy because they're going to be drinking on a beer that tastes like beer. Can you imagine it? A taste that you know that you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just great beer for people who like beer. And that is immense come this holiday season. Say you're hosting or you're going over to a holiday party. What do you bring with you? 12-pack of them Miller Lights. Beautiful color, wonderful white cans, this incredible flavor that you know only Miller Lite can deliver you. And at just 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs per 12 ounces, Miller time is always a good time. Making memories at your year-end gatherings tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.